13 Hollywood stars met their end in ways so bizarre, so haunting, that even decades later, their stories still send chills. From fatal accidents on film sets to deaths wrapped in mystery and scandal, these tragedies reveal the unsettling shadows behind the spotlight. Stay with us, because some of these tales are so strange you will not believe they actually happened. Number 1. Brandon Lee. March 31, 1993, while filming a pivotal scene for the movie The Crow, a nightmare unfolded. A prop gun, expected to fire harmless blanks, discharged a live round that had been mistakenly lodged in the chamber. The bullet ripped through his abdomen, damaging vital organs before embedding in his spine. Cast and crew froze in shock, thinking it was part of the performance. He was rushed to the hospital for hours of surgery, but at just 28, Brandon was pronounced dead. He was the only son of martial arts legend Bruce Lee, and from childhood carried the weight of a name larger than life. Born in Oakland and raised partly in Hong Kong, Brandon inherited his father's charisma and grace, but craved recognition as his own man. Early roles in Showdown and Little Tokyo and Rapid Fire showed flashes of that independence. By the early 90s, he was being hailed as a star, about to break free of the shadow, balancing martial arts with a dramatic intensity rare in action films. The Crow was his defining opportunity, a story of a musician resurrected to avenge his fiancée's murder. Its themes of death and rebirth would prove tragically prophetic. The accident shattered Hollywood and exposed alarming gaps in safety protocols on film sets. Fans drew haunting parallels to Bruce Lee's sudden death 2 decades earlier, fueling endless speculation and conspiracy theories. For those who loved him, the loss was unbearable. His fiancée, Eliza Hutton, faced the agony of losing him just days before their wedding. Colleagues described a man humble, disciplined, and eager to carve his own future. The film was completed using doubles and digital effects, and upon release in 1994, The Crow became a cult phenomenon. Every frame, however, carried the weight of tragedy, leaving audiences to wonder what greater heights Brandon might have reached had fate not intervened so cruelly. Number 2. Jayne Mansfield. June 29, 1967. The actress was traveling late at night on a Louisiana highway when her Buick Electra slammed into the rear of a tractor-trailer. The impact was so violent that the car went partially under the truck, instantly killing Mansfield along with her driver and a companion. 3 of her young children, including future television star Mariska Hargitay, were asleep in the back seat and survived with minor injuries. The gruesome nature of the crash gave rise to myths that Mansfield had been decapitated, a claim later denied by investigators, but one that haunted her legacy. Jayne Mansfield was one of the most recognizable sex symbols of the 1950s and 60s. Often billed as a rival to Marilyn Monroe, she brought a mix of blonde bombshell glamour and comedic timing to films like The Girl Can't Help It and Will Success, Spoil Rock Hunter. She won a Golden Globe for her early work and became a popular presence not only in movies but also on stage and in nightclubs, where she captivated audiences with her daring outfits and bold personality. Off-screen, she was a constant figure in tabloids, her high-profile romances and publicity stunts keeping her in the spotlight as much as her acting did. The tragedy of her death reverberated far beyond Hollywood. The shocking accident highlighted the dangers of road travel, especially in the days before modern safety features. In fact, the design of a protective bar now found on the rear of most tractor-trailers, often called the Mansfield bar, was directly influenced by her fatal crash. Fans around the world mourned not just the loss of a glamorous actress, but also the mother of 5 children left behind. Her daughter Mariska, only 3 years old at the time, would later become a celebrated actress herself, carrying forward a legacy shaped by both triumph and tragedy. Jayne's story remains a chilling reminder of how quickly fame and beauty can be eclipsed by fate. The rumors, the photographs of the mangled car, and the eerie survival of her children have kept her death one of the most talked about in Hollywood history. What do you think, dear viewers? Do you believe the myths surrounding that night added to her legend, or did they overshadow the real woman she was? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Number 3. Vic Morrow. July 23, 1982. During the filming of Twilight Zone, the movie in California, a horrific accident unfolded on set. Morrow was shooting a sequence involving a helicopter flying low over a riverbank with explosions choreographed around him. The helicopter lost control after a pyrotechnic blast damaged its rotor. It spun downward into the actors below, killing Morrow instantly along with 2 child performers. The tragedy was captured on film and quickly became one of the darkest moments in Hollywood's history. Vic Morrow had been a respected actor for decades before that fateful night. Born in New York, he rose to fame in the late 1950s with his role in Blackboard Jungle, where he portrayed a rebellious teenager. His career flourished in both film and television, particularly with the series Combat, which cemented him as a familiar face in American households. Known for his rugged looks and intense screen presence, Morrow often played soldiers, tough men, or characters struggling with moral conflict. Audiences admired his ability to deliver emotional depth even in action-driven roles. The circumstances of his death sparked outrage across the entertainment industry. The use of children in a dangerous nighttime scene, combined with the lack of proper safety measures, led to years of legal battles. Director John Landis and several crew members were charged with involuntary manslaughter, though they were later acquitted. The case became a landmark in film safety, forcing the industry to re-examine the risks of stunts and special effects. The deaths of Morrow and the 2 young actors brought public attention to a side of Hollywood rarely seen, where ambition and spectacle collided with tragic consequences. For colleagues and fans, the loss was devastating. Morrow had been admired not only for his talent but also for his dedication to the craft. Many who had worked with him recalled his professionalism and quiet generosity on set. His final performance in Twilight Zone, the movie, was overshadowed by the horror of the accident, yet it also served as a somber reminder of the dangers faced by those who bring cinematic visions to life. Today, his name is forever tied to both a respected acting career and one of the most infamous tragedies in Hollywood filmmaking. Number 4. David Carradine. June 3, 2009, he was found dead in a Bangkok hotel room under circumstances that baffled investigators and shocked the world. His body was discovered hanging in a closet, and early reports suggested suicide. Later findings pointed toward accidental asphyxiation linked to a dangerous form of autoerotic practice. The ambiguity of the scene, combined with his international fame, fueled endless speculation and controversy. For many, the bizarre details of his passing overshadowed the long and storied career that came before. Carradine had built his reputation in the 1970s as the star of the television series Kung Fu, where he played the wandering Shaolin monk Kwai Chang Caine. The role made him a cultural icon and introduced martial arts philosophy to millions of American viewers. Though he was not of Asian descent, his performance resonated with audiences and kept him on television screens for years. He later transitioned into films, working with directors such as Martin Scorsese in Boxcar Bertha and Hal Ashby in Bound for Glory. His unique look, raspy voice, and eccentric personality set him apart from his peers. His career experienced a resurgence decades later when Quentin Tarantino cast him as the titular Bill in Kill Bill. The role reminded a new generation of his talent, portraying him as both ruthless and strangely charismatic. Carradine's work in that film earned him critical acclaim and revitalized interest in his earlier projects. Beyond acting, he also dabbled in music and painting, cementing his reputation as a multi-talented artist. The news of his death spread rapidly across the globe, shocking fans who remembered him as a figure of strength and wisdom on screen. Family members disputed the initial conclusions and demanded further investigation, which only added to the mystery. Colleagues described him as both brilliant and troubled, a man of deep creativity but also prone to eccentric and risky behavior. Even now, the final chapter of David Carradine's life remains shrouded in unanswered questions. His story stands as a reminder of how fame can magnify tragedy, transforming a private moment into a worldwide spectacle. For audiences who admired his artistry, the strangeness of his death did not erase the impact of his performances, but it did ensure that his name would forever be linked to one of Hollywood's most unsettling endings. Number 5. Sal Mineo. February 12, 1976, he returned home from a rehearsal in West Hollywood and parked his car near his apartment. As he stepped out, a man emerged from the shadows and stabbed him once in the chest. Neighbors heard his cries for help and rushed to his side, but by the time police arrived, Mineo had already collapsed and died on the sidewalk. The attack appeared random at first, and the absence of robbery left investigators puzzled. It took nearly 2 years before a suspect was arrested and convicted, but the senseless nature of the crime haunted Hollywood. Sal Mineo had risen to fame 2 decades earlier as one of the brightest young stars of his generation. Born in the Bronx to Italian immigrant parents, he discovered acting at an early age and quickly made his way to Broadway. His breakthrough came in 1955 when he played Plato opposite James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause. The role earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor and established him as a teenage icon. Audiences connected with his vulnerability and intensity, traits that set him apart from other young actors of the era. His career continued with notable performances in films like Giant and Exodus, where he earned a second Oscar nomination. Despite his early success, the transition into adult roles proved difficult. Hollywood often typecast him, and by the 1960s, his star began to fade. He shifted his focus to stage work, appearing in productions such as Fortune and Men's Eyes, where his performances were praised for their raw honesty. By the mid-70s, Mineo was working steadily again and had just secured a role in a new play, suggesting a career resurgence was within reach. The brutal nature of his death struck a painful chord in the industry. Friends described him as warm, generous, and full of energy, with a passion for his craft that never dimmed. His murder raised questions about the safety of actors in an era when fame often attracted unwanted attention. Though his killer was eventually brought to justice, the randomness of the attack left little comfort for those who admired him. For many fans, Sal Mineo remains forever frozen in time as the sensitive teenager from Rebel Without a Cause. His violent end only deepened the aura of tragedy surrounding the young actors linked to James Dean, reinforcing the sense that fate dealt harshly with Hollywood's most promising talents. Number 6. Ramon Novarro. October 30th, 1968. He was found dead in the bathroom of his Hollywood home after being brutally beaten. The 69-year-old actor had invited two young men to his house, but the meeting turned violent when they attempted to rob him. He was left to die, his body discovered with severe facial injuries, and the crime shocked the public with its cruelty. Rumors spread quickly, fueled by the contrast between his glamorous silent film career and the sordid circumstances of his death. Ramon Novarro had been one of the great idols of the silent film era, often compared to Rudolph Valentino. Born in Mexico and moving to California as a young man, he began as an extra before working his way into starring roles. His big break came with the 1925 epic Ben-Hur, where his portrayal of the Jewish prince cemented him as a matinee idol. Audiences adored his dark good looks and charismatic presence, and he quickly became one of the highest-paid actors of the era. At the height of his fame, his salary rivaled that of any star in Hollywood. His career endured the transition from silent films to talkies, though his popularity eventually declined as tastes changed. Despite this, Novarro continued to work steadily in film and television, appearing in character roles and guest spots well into the 1950s. He lived quietly in Los Angeles, respected by his peers as a professional who had survived the brutal shifts of the industry. Off-screen, however, he struggled with the pressures of maintaining his public image in a Hollywood that left little room for personal freedom. The shocking details of his murder revealed the vulnerability of aging stars whose fortunes had long since faded. Investigators described a scene of brutality and humiliation, while the tabloids seized upon lurid details that turned his death into a public spectacle. The crime exposed a darker side of Hollywood, where once beloved idols could fall prey to predators who saw them as easy targets. Colleagues mourned him as a pioneer who had carried the torch for Latin American actors in early Hollywood. His influence on the screen had opened doors for others, and his legacy in films like Ben-Hur remained untarnished despite the grim end. The contrast between his glorious youth and his violent death has kept his story alive as one of the most unsettling tragedies of classic Hollywood. Number 7. Martha Mansfield. November 30th, 1923. During the filming of The Warrens of Virginia in San Antonio, Texas, tragedy erupted in an instant. Mansfield had just finished shooting a scene and returned to her car when a match or cigarette ignited the large hoop skirt of her Civil War costume. The fabric, made of highly flammable material, burst into flames, engulfing her body in seconds. Co-star Wilfred Lytell attempted to smother the fire with his coat, and a chauffeur rushed to rip away the burning fabric, but the damage was already catastrophic. She was rushed to the hospital with severe burns covering most of her body and died the following day at only 24 years old. Martha Mansfield had been a rising star of the silent film era, admired for her beauty and talent. Born in New York City, she began her career as a model and stage performer before making her way into films. She gained recognition after appearing in Broadway productions and quickly transitioned into motion pictures, where her charm and expressive face captured audiences. By the early 1920s, she was being cast in leading roles, building a reputation as one of the most promising young actresses of her generation. Her appearance alongside John Barrymore in the 1920 film Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde introduced her to a wider audience. Critics praised her screen presence, and directors saw in her a talent capable of balancing both beauty and emotional depth. The Warrens of Virginia was intended to be another step forward in her career, a chance to solidify her standing in Hollywood's competitive silent film landscape. Instead, the tragic accident cut short a life and career that had only just begun to bloom. The film community was shaken by her death, not only because of her youth, but also because of the horrifying circumstances. Newspapers described the accident in vivid detail, and the industry faced renewed scrutiny over safety conditions on film sets. For her fans, the tragedy was difficult to reconcile with the image of the vibrant young actress they had admired on screen. Martha Mansfield's untimely death became one of the earliest and most haunting examples of the dangers actors faced in Hollywood's golden age. Her story endures as a somber reminder of how fragile life could be in an industry more focused on spectacle than safety, where a moment of carelessness could erase a rising star forever. Number 8. Thelma Todd. December 16, 1935, she was discovered lifeless in her car inside the garage of a friend's home in Pacific Palisades. The cause was listed as carbon monoxide poisoning, but the surrounding details stirred endless speculation. She had attended a party the night before and seemed in good spirits, yet the next morning her body was slumped behind the wheel of her vehicle. Rumors spread quickly, suggesting everything from suicide to accidental mishap to foul play involving Hollywood's underworld. The uncertainty of what truly happened turned her death into one of the most enduring mysteries of classic cinema. Thelma Todd had been known as the Ice Cream Blonde, a nickname that captured both her beauty and her comedic charm. She began her career in the silent era, but found even greater success in the early days of sound films, where her witty delivery and sparkling screen presence made her a sought-after actress. She appeared alongside comedy legends like the Marx Brothers in Monkey Business and Horsefeathers, proving her ability to hold her own with the biggest stars in the business. Beyond her acting, Todd was also a savvy businesswoman. She opened a popular cafe on the Pacific Coast Highway, which became a hangout for celebrities and the Hollywood elite. Her combination of on-screen charisma and off-screen ambition made her stand out in an industry often unkind to women who dared to pursue independence. Her sudden death left the public stunned. The coroner's report leaned toward accident, but whispers of darker possibilities refused to fade. Some suggested that powerful figures resented her business success, while others hinted at turbulent personal relationships. The unresolved questions ensured that her legacy would always carry an air of mystery, fueling books, documentaries, and endless debate. Thelma Todd's story illustrates how a life full of promise can be cut short under circumstances that raise more questions than answers. She was 30 years old, at the height of her career, admired for her quick wit and captivating presence. Nearly a century later, her case remains unsolved in the hearts of many film historians and fans. What do you think, dear viewers? Was her death a tragic accident, or was something more sinister at play? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Number 9. Jack Nance. December 30th, 1996. He was found dead in his California apartment with a head injury that investigators linked to an altercation the day before. Friends recalled that he had appeared with a black eye and cuts on his face after telling them he had been involved in a fight outside a donut shop. Alone at home that night, the injury caused a fatal brain hemorrhage, and he was discovered the next morning by acquaintances who had grown concerned. The strange and sudden nature of his passing stunned fans who knew him as one of David Lynch's most distinctive collaborators. Jack Nance became widely known for his unforgettable role in the 1977 cult classic Eraserhead, where his haunting performance as Henry Spencer left a lasting mark on cinema history. His offbeat look and ability to embody eccentric characters made him a favorite of director David Lynch, who continued to cast him in projects across decades. He appeared in Blue Velvet, Wild at Heart, and most famously as Pete Martell in Twin Peaks, the gentle fisherman who utters the chilling line, "She's dead," wrapped in plastic. The role brought him mainstream recognition and endeared him to television audiences. Outside of his work with Lynch, Nance built a career as a respected character actor. He was never a conventional leading man, but his peculiar charm and dedication to his craft ensured that his performances were memorable. Directors admired his willingness to take risks, and colleagues described him as a warm and deeply committed professional who brought authenticity to every role. The circumstances of his death, however, cast a shadow over his legacy. The fight that led to his fatal injury was never fully explained, and details about the altercation remain uncertain. Some wondered whether the encounter had been random street violence or something more personal. The ambiguity surrounding his final hours added an unsettling note to a life defined by unusual and often surreal roles. For fans of Twin Peaks and Lynch's body of work, Jack Nance's death felt like a scene pulled from one of the director's films, ordinary on the surface, but charged with mystery and unease. His contributions to cinema remain celebrated, but his sudden end continues to spark questions that may never find clear answers, leaving his story as enigmatic as the characters he brought to life on screen. Number 10. Carol Wayne. January 13, 1985, her body was discovered floating in a shallow bay near a resort in Mexico. She had been vacationing in the coastal town of Manzanillo, where she reportedly argued with her companion before walking off alone. 3 days later, fishermen found her drowned, and the lack of clear evidence about how she ended up in the water left investigators puzzled. No signs of violence were found, but the unanswered questions turned her death into one of Hollywood's enduring mysteries. Carol Wayne was best known to American audiences for her recurring appearances on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. As the bubbly matinee lady in the popular Art Fern Tea Time movie sketches, she became a fixture of late-night comedy during the 1970s. Her comedic timing, paired with her glamorous looks, made her a beloved television personality. Audiences adored her ability to play the innocent foil to Carson's sly humor, and she appeared in more than 100 episodes over the years. Beyond her Tonight Show fame, Wayne also acted in a variety of television series and films, from Love American Style to The Fall Guy. She became a familiar face in guest roles, often cast as the attractive and slightly naive blonde who could carry both humor and charm. Though she rarely landed leading film roles, her steady presence on television gave her career longevity and made her a household name. By the early 1980s, her personal life was less stable. Struggles with finances and relationships were widely reported, yet she continued to pursue work in Hollywood. Her trip to Mexico was meant to be a getaway, but instead it became the setting for her mysterious end. The local authorities ruled her death an accidental drowning, though skeptics pointed to the odd timing of her disappearance and the conflicting stories from those who last saw her alive. The news devastated fans, who remembered her as a vibrant comedic talent whose screen presence could light up a room. Friends and colleagues spoke of her kindness, professionalism, and the joy she brought to sets. Even now, Carol Wayne's final days remain clouded in uncertainty, leaving behind a legacy marked by laughter on screen and an ending that continues to puzzle those who admired her. Number 11. Dorothy Stratton. August 14, 1980. She was found dead in a Los Angeles home, murdered by her estranged husband, Paul Snider. She had been shot in the face with a 12-gauge shotgun before Snider turned the weapon on himself. The crime scene revealed a brutal murder-suicide that shocked Hollywood with its violence and finality. Stratton was only 20 years old, her life and career cut short at the very moment she was being hailed as a rising star. Dorothy Stratton's path to fame had begun only a few years earlier. Born in Canada, she worked at a fast food restaurant before being discovered and encouraged to submit photos to Playboy. By 1979, she had been named Playmate of the Year, and her striking beauty combined with a natural screen presence caught Hollywood's attention. She landed roles in films such as Galaxina and They All Laughed, the latter directed by Peter Bogdanovich, who became both her mentor and romantic partner. Her career was just beginning to expand beyond modeling, with critics noting her potential as an actress capable of blending innocence with charisma. Many believed she was on the verge of crossing over into serious film roles. Off-screen, however, her relationship with Paul Snider had turned toxic. He had helped guide her early career, but grew increasingly controlling and resentful as she found success. By 1980, she had moved away from him emotionally and professionally, setting the stage for the tragedy that followed. The murder stunned both the entertainment industry and the public. It highlighted the dangers of abusive relationships, particularly when jealousy and power collide. Bogdanovich was devastated by the loss and later wrote extensively about her life and their relationship, while Hugh Hefner and others in her circle mourned the loss of someone they believed could have been a major Hollywood star. The story of Dorothy Stratton has since been retold in books, documentaries, and films, including the movie Star 80, which dramatized her final days. Her death remains one of the most harrowing examples of promise destroyed by violence. For many fans, she endures as a symbol of lost potential, remembered not only for her beauty but for the tragic cautionary tale her life became in the glare of Hollywood's unforgiving spotlight. Number 12. Gig Young. October 19th, 1978. He and his new wife were discovered dead in their Manhattan apartment. Police found Young sprawled on the floor with a gunshot wound to his head, and his wife lying nearby with the same fate. The weapon was in his hand, leading investigators to rule the incident a murder-suicide. The shocking nature of the discovery left friends and colleagues grappling with disbelief. For only hours earlier, he had appeared outwardly cheerful during conversations with acquaintances. Gig Young had built a career that spanned decades, winning acclaim as a versatile actor capable of both charm and depth. Born in Minnesota, he started with minor film roles in the 1940s before working his way into more significant projects. His breakthrough came with his performance in Teacher's Pet, alongside Clark Gable and Doris Day, which displayed his gift for comedy. Over time, he shifted into more dramatic roles, demonstrating a range that kept him in steady demand across film and television. In 1969, Young won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his portrayal of the cynical MC in They Shoot Horses, Don't They? The role, which depicted a man orchestrating a grueling dance marathon during the Depression, was both riveting and unsettling, showing his ability to embody darker shades of humanity. This performance marked the high point of his career, placing him among Hollywood's most respected supporting actors. Behind the acclaim, however, his personal life was turbulent. He battled alcoholism for years and endured a series of failed marriages. Colleagues spoke of his charm, but also his volatility, traits that made working with him unpredictable. By the late 1970s, though his talent was unquestioned, his reputation had suffered under the weight of personal struggles. The violent end to his life added a grim footnote to an otherwise distinguished career. Fans were left to reconcile the image of the charismatic actor with the reality of his final act. Hollywood mourned the loss of a man who had contributed memorable performances, but whose demons proved overwhelming. Gig Young's legacy remains a complex one, defined by both triumph on the screen and tragedy behind closed doors. A duality that makes his story one of the most haunting in Hollywood history. Number 13. Albert Dekker. May 5th, 1968. He was found dead in his Hollywood apartment, under circumstances so bizarre that investigators struggled to make sense of the scene. His body was discovered nude, kneeling in the bathtub, with a noose loosely tied around his neck, handcuffs on his wrists, and hypodermic needles on the floor. Inscriptions had been written on his body in lipstick, and the apartment was locked from the inside. The coroner ruled the death accidental, caused by autoerotic asphyxiation, but the disturbing details immediately ignited speculation. Albert Dekker had been a distinguished actor for more than 3 decades. Born in Brooklyn, he first gained recognition on Broadway before moving into films during the 1930s. His striking height and commanding voice made him a natural for strong supporting roles, often portraying villains or men of authority. In the 1940s, he starred in Dr. Cyclops, one of Hollywood's first full-length Technicolor science fiction films, where his chilling performance as a mad scientist left a lasting impression. His versatility kept him employed in a wide range of projects, from westerns to noirs. In The Killers, alongside Burt Lancaster and Ava Gardner, Dekker played a calculating crime boss, further establishing his reputation as a dependable character actor. Later, he appeared in Samuel Fuller's Kiss Me Deadly, adding to his legacy as a performer unafraid of darker roles. Even as Hollywood evolved, he remained active in both film and television, admired for his professionalism and depth. Outside acting, Dekker also ventured into politics. He served in the California State Assembly during the 1940s, a rare move for an actor of his time. He was outspoken on progressive issues and earned respect for balancing his Hollywood career with public service. The grotesque scene of his death, however, threatened to overshadow his many achievements. While authorities maintained it was accidental, The sensational reports published in newspapers painted a lurid picture that fascinated and horrified the public. Colleagues expressed shock, recalling him as a man of intelligence and integrity, while struggling to reconcile that image with the details released. Albert Decker's death remains one of the strangest in Hollywood's history, a tragic ending that blurred the line between private life and public image. For film historians and fans, his legacy is marked not only by the quality of his work, but also by the unsettling mystery of his final moments. These 13 stories remind us that Hollywood's brightest stars often met their end in ways stranger than fiction. Fame, beauty, and talent could not shield them from fate, and their bizarre deaths continue to haunt the industry. Do you remember other stars whose lives ended in mysterious ways? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to keep uncovering the dark, hidden corners of Hollywood history, make sure to subscribe to Tragic Hollywood for more unforgettable stories.